In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to create tables for our products using PHP-MyAdmin database. So SQL is a powerful tool which we can use to store data, okay? And since we want our e-commerce site to function where there has to be a database at the back end, so we don't have to worry about the code anymore. All we do is we simply open up our database and insert products, and these products should show up directly onto our site. Okay, so this is the idea. So let's go ahead. Let's go to our PHP-MyAdmin. And in the previous lesson, we created a database called Redstone Shop. Okay, so right now, obviously, nothing exists in this database. So let's go ahead and create tables within this database. Okay, so the first table. All right, so basically, in order to create a table, first we specify the name of the table. In this instance, I'm going to say products table or just products. And again, you can use any naming convention as you like. There are instances where you can use something like TBL underscore products, okay, and so on. So if you have multiple databases or various tables that you need to create, then this is a good way to create these naming conventions, okay. But for our simple purpose, I'm going to use just the name called products and then specify the columns. In our instance, we have about 7 or 8 products, so we need about 8 or 9 columns. And again, we can always go back and delete the empty columns as well. For right now, I'm just going to say 9 columns and create or click go, and this will create the table for us. Now, once the table is created, we need to specify what goes within the products table. So for example, the first field is going to be our ID field, and the type is going to be an integer field. The length values, if I need to write something, I can specify. The default is going to be none. The collation, of course, I can choose here as well. Attributes, and then the index. And of course, since it's my ID column, I want to use the primary key. And the reason why I use the primary key is because each product must be unique, right? So we're not duplicating things. Again, the basic database concepts, right? Whether it's SQL or Access or whatever. So we need to specify the primary key as an integer key, and I can specify the size, if any. Click go, and we'll create the primary key as the ID field being the primary key. So let me scroll to the right here for the rest of the options and make sure I check this box. I can add some additional information such as comments, virtuality, the MIME type, and so on. So let's go back. Next field is our title. This is going to be a character field. I can either choose text or varchar, which is the variable length. So I'm going to use this particular option. Specify the length to be 255 characters, and rest leave the same. The next field is our price field, and prices are obviously in decimal format. So let's see, here's decimal. The length and value, I can specify something like 10 maybe, or comma 2, so it goes to 2 decimal places. My default value is none, and everything else stays the same. And then of course my list price is the same. I'm going to pick decimal and choose the same value for this. The next field is my brand, and this is again the character type is varchar, and then 255 for the length. And next is the image, and for my image I'm going to use the varchar, and by the way, for the brand it's going to be an integer. Okay, that's what I'm going to use. Get rid of this. Perfect. For my image, it's going to be 255, and next a description, and this obviously is just simple text with 255 characters. All right, great. So once within my products table, I've created all these fields, specified the properties, and make sure you don't forget the primary key, right? This is important when you're creating your tables. So once you're done, scroll down. You can either preview the SQL or click Save. I'm going to click on Preview so you can also see the SQL. So if you don't want to create the table this way, we can use the SQL commands such as create table and then specify the name of the database, products, and then the fields. Okay, so you can create the SQL statement directly and it will create the table for you. Okay, so for example, if I copy this code, close, and go to my SQL, of course I need to save this first, so let me cancel and I'll demonstrate this a little later. But let's save our products table. Okay, so within our Redstone shop, our products table is now created. If I need to use SQL, for instance, I can always click on SQL, and this is where I can write my SQL code. So if I paste this and I execute by clicking on Go, for instance, it's going to create the same table again and call it products and whichever values I've specified. So whether you use SQL within your PHPMyAdmin, or you can use the fields to insert or create these columns and then fields. So both ways are correct. So let's go back to our products table that we just created. I want to see the structure of the table. Okay, so not the SQL. All right, great. So we created the ID, which is a primary key, the title, price, list price, brand, image, and description. Obviously, at this point, there's no information in the product, right? There's no data in the product, and we'll be inputting data for each of the products that we created. So in this lesson, I wanted to demonstrate how to create a table using my PHPAdmin, and I demonstrated also both ways. So if you're comfortable with the SQL code, you can use SQL to create the table, or you can simply navigate directly into PHPMyAdmin and create these fields. So practice creating your database, and let's move to our next lesson.